All right. This is just it's just a test. What I'm actually doing is making sure that the transcoding feature of Restream is working in relation to changing a very wide aspect ratio live stream to a 1080p. So that's what I'm doing right now. Because on YouTube, hey, Marcus, thank you for joining. What is brewing? What's brewing is I'm actually testing the wide screen aspect ratio in Ecamm and seeing what that looks like on Twitter and LinkedIn, because LinkedIn does not like anything over 1920 by 1080. And what I'm actually streaming in right now on YouTube is 2880 by 1440 in a 2:1 aspect ratio. So it's a wider screen. Hopefully you can see it's a wider screen. And I just wanted to see if it messes up in LinkedIn, but it doesn't at the moment. So hello to everybody who's joined, and I don't know who's actually joining from where. Well, let's have a look at the Restream dashboard if in case that tells me. The Restream dashboard is not telling me much. Let me just do a refresh on that. So yeah, it's just really an impromptu live test to make sure what's going on. Yeah, going cinematic. I always like streaming in widescreen. I always do most of my YouTube videos. I try the pre-recorded material anyway, try and do in that aspect ratio. I just like the look of it. And I just wanted to make sure that it doesn't mess up on LinkedIn, which it has done in the past. So I'm now going to check. I'm actually going to check on Twitter to see what's going on. I think there's a few people already joined on Twitter. So if you're actually watching me on Twitter, could you possibly leave a comment just to let me know that it looks reasonable from an aspect ratio perspective? It doesn't look squashed up to me. Excuse me. And then when I'm bringing Marcus's comments and things, it looks all right. So, hey, Eileen, thank you for joining. I think you've joined on Twitter, I can see. Comments are coming through nicely on Ecamm. I've had a problem with the comments as well, so let's just take a look on here to see if I can get your comment to come in and sit nicely there. Look at that. It actually works today, which is fun. All right, that's working all right. So yeah, just doing a bit of testing. As usual, always doing a bit of testing to make sure these live streams work as effectively as possible. So thank you for joining. So I'm just checking on my Restream. So 5 people on Twitter, 3 people on YouTube. Well, that's wonderful. Thank you for joining. I need to go live more, I think, to these multiple destinations. And this is why I was wanting to make sure that everything looked all right on there. So how's everybody doing this evening? It's getting close. Oh, thanks, Eileen. Yeah, if you wouldn't mind checking from your perspective, because if you're watching it on the phone as well, all I'm trying to work out is making sure that I am not squashed up, and because that wouldn't be good. That wouldn't be good for business if the whole aspect ratio was done. Hello, Media MC. Thank you for joining. Thank you for the good overlays. Thank you. Yeah, I've just been messing around with it, trying to make things look good. Hey, Phil. Thanks for joining. Get a lot more people joining on Twitter these days as well. Sorry, X. What do you want to call it? I'm going to call it Twitter. It's always be Twitter to me. I saw, Phil, that you've been going live as well a couple of times. I think you're using StreamYard or something like that to go live. So that's pretty cool. Keep up the live streaming stuff. And I really enjoyed our live stream together. That was good fun. I plan to have a few more guests on there as well. Marcus, whilst you're on as well, if you wouldn't mind sending a DM to me on Instagram just with how you pronounce your last name. And if you can send me a bio, because you're going to be on as a guest in a couple of weeks on the Creative Amplifiers show. So it'd be great if you could just send me some details via IG so we make sure everything's working well. You would like myself to be a little bit squashed. Yes, it's a great way. You know, the camera adds £10. That's what they say, right, Marcus? But that's funny. Hey, Eileen, thank you so much. So you are on your iMac. It looks good on LinkedIn. That's great. Mission accomplished. So what's everybody doing this evening? Wrapping up their Friday. I know, Marcus, you're an hour ahead of me, so you're already well into your evening. But I thought I'd just hang out a little bit, just Just get some water here. It is water, not gin and tonic, and I'm in the UK, but you know, well, from the UK, but what can I say? Well, Restream looks like it's performing like a champion tonight, which is unusual because typically it doesn't work terribly well. So I think what I'll do then, I will keep this aspect ratio going forward for streaming. And what's strange is when I'm streaming on this particular stream resolution, the bandwidth it takes is a bit less because it's slightly less compressed, I think. So we'll see. Eileen says, shutting down a Mac now is super hard to decide which platform I should join from my phone. That's a good point, actually. Let me just get this looking a bit better. Just to make sure that the comments come in. I'll just put your comment there again. I'll just make this a bit wider. Yeah, that's all right. I'll keep that there, actually. And in the main comments, if I was just commenting on my own, does that comment come in as well? Properly? Yeah, that looks good. I like that. Yes, just a little bit of homework, Marcus. Nothing too much. Just we want to know how to pronounce your last name and so on. And I need to just put a little bit of padding on the text margin there. Look at that. It's not 100%. That's better. Now you look good. Now these comments look great. Okay. I'm definitely going to keep this as is. That's all right. So, okay. Apparently there's 23 people watching on Twitter. That's surprising to me. So if you are on Twitter and you're watching this live stream now, please comment. Just let me know who you are and where you're from. That would be great. I'm actually only doing some testing, and I thought I'd just hop on, not expecting really anybody to hop on and join in the party. So I do appreciate you joining. So that's an interesting statistic. I haven't streamed on Twitter recently. I did try and schedule a live stream on Thursday when Brian and I were working on our presentation for talking about cameras and settings on the exposure triangle and stuff like that. But the Twitter scheduler failed on me terribly, so it didn't work. So unfortunately, I wasn't able to push that out. But in future, I'm just going to use Restream now, I think, to push it to the 3 platforms, and everything should be good to go. So you're going back to YouTube. You're watching it on your TV. There you go. That's good. Try a pronunciation and I'll tell you if it's right. Okay, it's, let's have a see how we pronounce this. Marcus Schwab. Schwab or Schwab? I'll do the first one. Schwab. You can tell me if Schwab is right. If it's not, you can give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down, Marcus, to tell me if this pronunciation is right or not. 25 people on Twitter. Who's watching? Who's watching this nonsense? But thank you if you are watching. It's very nice of you to join me on a cozy evening here in not so sunny Portugal because it's been raining most of the day, but that's fine. Close. All right. Okay, you'll have to phonetically spell it out for me, Marcus, or send me a voice message or something like that. So I don't want to mess it up. Close, but no cigar. I see. All right. So while we're on the subject of platforms and things like that, I know we weren't, but we were just talking about it. Obviously, there's big news at the moment going on that TikTok may be banned in the US. That's going to be interesting for people who are actually doing TikToking. That could be a bit frightening. The view count in Twitter is not real time, it's cumulative. Okay, that makes more sense. Thank you, Eileen. Cumulative. I was going to say, wow. Okay, so it's I thought I was going to grow my audience then on Twitter. But anyway, yeah, so TikTok, that's going to be interesting if it does get banned in the US. And a lot of people I know use TikTok as a platform, not only for the videos and stuff, but some people make a living using TikTok as well, particularly with the TikTok shops and things like that. So if it does get banned, I wonder if people are going to come over to Instagram or YouTube Shorts and stuff like that. It's going to be an interesting year, I think, especially if TikTok is not going to be allowed in the US. I wonder if Europe will follow suit later. Anybody here on Twitter, on TikTok, sorry. That would be interesting. I only view stuff on TikTok. I'm not really actively on TikTok, but people can make a lot of money on there. So interesting times ahead. So yeah, so I need to work out about these Twitter statistics. So Eileen, as you mentioned, so the Twitter is not real time, it's cumulative. So does that mean people have to dip in and out to watch the stream and then come on? I don't know how that works, but yeah. I've just found a YouTube video with the pronunciation. There's a YouTube video for everything. Are you kidding me? So there's a YouTube video for your pronunciation of your last name. All right. Well, send it over to me on IG if you wouldn't mind, and I will study it. So we're ready in a couple of weeks' time. So that's very kind of you. All right. So LinkedIn looks good. Twitter looks good. YouTube looks good. I don't need to post anywhere else. I think that's enough. I don't really post to Facebook, and it's going away anyway. So do people still stream to Facebook at the moment in their groups? That'd be interesting to find out if they do. Well, ahoy, matey. How's it going? I only popped on here to check my aspect ratio, 2:1 aspect ratio, streaming to YouTube, Twitter, and LinkedIn, and it looks like it's working fine. So, yeah, welcome. You can hop on the live stream if you want, Brian, if you got something to talk about. I don't mind. But I was going to just do a bit of testing. The thing is actually still set up for when we were talking yesterday. And in case you missed Brian and my workflow yesterday, then please come and rejoin the replay. Sure, same link. Yeah, come on and join. Let me get the interview going. So Eileen, you can actually schedule. I schedule my well, it's not really a scheduling, but in Restream you can actually set up the system whereby it will create a scheduled post ready, and it will then go live as soon as I press live on Restream. So obviously I use Restream with Ecamm Live, but yeah, you can pretty much use it with that as well, and it should schedule a stream for you. What I haven't done at the moment is done a live Spaces with video, because you can only do that from your phone, I think. So that's a shame, but we'll figure that out. We'll figure that out. So Marcus has kind of sent me his pronunciation YouTube video. Here comes Brian. Let me just get Brian to join. Oh, you're in the green room. How do I get you in the green room? Let me just assign you as a guest. Let me just put you there. Are you in the green room? Are you live? You're live again.
Hello.
Here you are. Hello. You can hear me okay, I hope?
I can. I just needed to mute the live stream in my YouTube tab because I was getting this double.
Right. Look at this. It's the Brian and Neil show. 2 days in a row. Impromptu.
I know. I'm going again on Tuesday.
I know. So for those of you who are watching at the moment, I sent you, hang on, so Marcus has said you're sending us 2 videos just to be safe. All the comments are working fine now as well. They weren't working at all yesterday for some reason. So Marcus is coming on to the Creative Amplifiers show in a couple of weeks, and I was concerned about how I was going to pronounce his name. So in true YouTube spirit, there is an actual YouTube video on how to pronounce his last name. You can find a YouTube video for everything.
This is true.
This is true. Indeed. So we're streaming right now to LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube, all at the same time. And I'm using Restream's transcoding feature, where it will take a widescreen aspect ratio, because I'm streaming at the moment in 2880 by 1440, so 2:1 widescreen format, which is what I streamed in yesterday with us. And it's actually transcoding that down to 1920 by 1080, and it all looks good, apparently. So it's it doesn't squish it, right? You know, sometimes when you get that, well, we all look 10 pounds lighter, which isn't a bad thing. But in this case, it's actually working fine.
Yeah, it looks great. And even here, I've got the actual YouTube live stream here, and it looks solid.
Oh, cool. All right,
so
that's cool. Yeah, the quality is pretty good. Eileen says hello to you. Yeah, so we got Oh, and we've got Phil as well. So Phil is my friend who I had on last week talking about his photography. He does a lot of photography of animals, particularly dogs. He has a dog rescue, and he's got over 120,000 followers on Twitter. So he's got a big community over there, which is cool. Oops, I keep pressing the wrong button all the time. Now, Eileen's just pointed out that Twitter is cumulative in terms of the user count, because on my user count right now, it says 51 people are watching this live stream, and I don't believe that for 1 second. It's just, what? It's just, that's not possible. There's only like 3 people watching it, I'm convinced. But
so it's cumulative. How so?
I don't know. I've never seen that before. So Eileen, do you know how that works in terms of Twitter being cumulative in terms of the numbers? Because if you get 5 people just dipping in, then that's fine. But I guess with Twitter, anybody that is following me will see that I've gone live, and it's a banner on top of on the Twitter app. So if I can just show you.
Let's see. Let me see if I go to the Twitter app on mobile. That usually does.
Yeah. Right.
Let's see. Yeah, there it is. There.
Yeah. So
sure.
So anybody who's following me would see that at the top, and then they would.
It said plus 46, Neil.
It's not possible.
I'm taking a screenshot.
Wow, 46 on Twitter. All right, you can send it to me. Well,
yeah,
if you are watching on Twitter, which is crazy, please leave a comment. Say hello. Who are you? Who are you watching this nonsense on a Friday night? What I was doing is, there you go. So Eileen's basically saying, in other words, it counts everyone who watched, even for an instant. So anybody who's just dipped in.
Oh. You see, that's the kind of shadiness about X that just kind of rubs me the wrong way, because it's like a false positive almost.
Right?
Sure, YouTube reports when you're done. It'll report, I think, the maximum concurrent viewers during the stream, but it's not like when you're looking now on YouTube and it shows the count. It's not like, all right, if we had 4 people and then another person came and left and another person came and left, it doesn't say like 6 people. It'll show the current amount at that time.
Right. I'm with you. Okay. So, okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Phil. You retweeted my live post to your 120,000 followers. All right. Bring it on. Let's get it to 100 by the end of the night. No, I'm just kidding. We have nothing sensible to talk about. This is completely impromptu. What have you been up to today, then, Brian? Are you ready to clear your shelves out for the big studio move, if that's happening this weekend?
I'm at that point of I'm just looking at everything, and it's almost like the physical version of analysis paralysis. Like I'm like, okay, I need to start disconnecting all the cables, but then I need to make sure that I like mark each cable so I know what goes to what. But I'm excited. I'm really excited. And I was texting with you. The thing that I worry about is I don't want the new studio to look too similar to this one, but I don't see how I can make it much different. But then you brought up things like using RGB lights and stuff like that. So
yeah,
that I think would be fun to talk about on Tuesday, because I have a lot of thoughts on that.
Well, good. Because coincidentally, Phil, who's in the stream at the moment, he's going through a studio rebuild as well, looking at some sort of best practices for setting up his studio. He was asking me about lights and things like that. And Phil, I do owe you a couple of links for the lights that I use. But when people have just got a room and not much else, it's hard to work out, well, where do I put my camera? Where do I put the places? So won't give too much away that we're going to talk about, because we have no clue what we're talking about on Tuesday, because we're going to make it up as we go along. But let's not spoil it. We're going to wing it. Exactly. We've both built rooms for our environments for doing different things. And in my house right now, as I mentioned, I'm in this little attic, but over at the other side, I've also got another empty space, because the people that used to live here did a lot of artwork and things. So they did painting. So my wife does a little bit of painting and things. So there's a corner piece of the room that I've just put up a small cork wall, because my wife will be doing some YouTube videos. So that's another little studio space. So now I'm playing with 2 areas. And it's like, oh, well, I could mix it up and put a camera there, and, there you go.
Absolutely.
just get a little bit spoilt with different spaces. But are you converting this back to a bedroom where you are right now, your studio, or are you just going to leave it for something else?
No, it's similar. I think a similar situation with you and your wife. So Ashley's office is currently in what will be the guest room. The guest room will become my office, and my office will become her office. So it's this musical chairs of offices. And Ashley is primarily into, she also does, her business model is similar to mine. And she creates video courses, but primarily for watercolor and calligraphy. And so this giant window here, we talked about this. I can't control it, but for her, it's perfect because that kind of light is great for someone like her who's an artist. She doesn't have a YouTube channel or anything. No, her business does, but it's not active on it.
Right.
And so the room that I'm moving in, it offers several benefits. The first is it's fully carpeted. This room is has hard tile. And the windows have what are they called? Blackout shades or blackout curtains.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know. Yeah, I'm excited and nervous.
Cool. It's always nerve-wracking changing up your studio. So Eileen has just said, on the other hand, Twitter Spaces are completely different. You see the profile picture of it. Okay. Yeah, so I don't know whether you've done any Twitter Spaces, Brian, or are aware of what Twitter Spaces is. It's like Clubhouse. So when Clubhouse came about, the exclusive place where everybody wanted to join, and then it became ubiquitous, and then nobody wanted to join. So Twitter Spaces has done something similar. So you can do two things now. You can do an audio-only broadcast to your followers, invite people in to speak and have them as guest speakers, and then they've now introduced a video version of Spaces, so you can have a host like we're doing right now. And I don't know, Eileen knows more about this than I do, but I'm not sure if you can bring in multiple people on video into a Twitter video space. I think it might just only be the speaker, and then everybody else is audio. But I might be wrong, but you can see.
Yeah, I haven't participated. But it seems like it's either an existing social media platform will release some new method of interacting with the audience, and then every other existing platform will create their version of it, or like Clubhouse. Clubhouse came in at the exact right. They were in the right place at the right time with when it was like peak COVID and everyone was still locked down. Both, I would say, live streaming and that audio form of a group chat. Those really came into their own when we had no ability to meet in person. And like that's when I first kind of became familiar with Ecamm, was during COVID. And I mean, I think a lot of people were. The same thing, I mean, OBS as well. But I don't know. Have you, do you participate in those spaces on I see, and do I say Twitter? Do I say X? This is
let's just keep it at Twitter. I think. It is. Let's keep it at Twitter. I have participated in a couple. One with Phil, one with Eileen. But yeah, I mean, I see a few. So people that I do follow, they'll for now and again come in, do a Twitter space, and it's nice to just hop on and be a little bit anonymous and just listen. It's just like I treat it as like a dynamic podcast, right? Something's happening, somebody has something to say. And I did actually do a video of it was a bit convoluted. I had my wife join me and we were on a Twitter space, but I was broadcasting my iPhone's view of Twitter Spaces via Ecamm and broadcasting Ecamm live to YouTube. So I was on Twitter Spaces and on YouTube and somewhere else at the same time. And it can be done. It's an interesting way of doing it if you wanted to get more interactive with Twitter Spaces. So you and I could be talking now as we're doing. We could also be live on Twitter Spaces and get people interacting with that, and then me showing you in the broadcast what the comments are and who's participating. So yeah, maybe I'll try that one day again. It's better with a co-host and then we go crazy. So Eileen
Yeah.
says that you can only the host can see profile
the
pictures
video.
of people. Yeah, and it's just the host at the moment, I think. And Phil says the same thing. So not yet. Well, we'll see.
I don't know.
But, yeah.
I'm
a Twitter
still
person?
like, I've been on Twitter since I think 2008.
Oh wow.
I think it shows. Yeah, it shows. I think on your profile. Yeah, June 2008.
Wow.
And I cannot break into the 8,000 followers. I'm at 7.9 thousand, and I mean, Twitter is kind of more of a consumption platform for me still. It's too. The algorithm hasn't. I haven't made overtures to the algorithm to where it surfaces my stuff. Partly because I don't post often, and I make that cardinal sin of. So YouTube is my, like, if there is a non-owned platform that I'm going to focus on, it's going to be on YouTube. And
right.
One of the things that I would love, and we can talk about this on one of our Tuesday episodes, is there is no real tax, like using Ecamm to broadcast to YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, for example. There is no tax other than obviously making sure you have the bandwidth. And yet I still, when I go live, I only go to YouTube.
Right.
And I don't know strategically if that makes sense, if I should go to other platforms, but YouTube has been the one that I've put the most amount of effort in as far as a non-owned platform, meaning like my email is my owned platform. So that is at the very top.
Yeah, sure.
But yeah, so you use Restream though, right?
Yeah, because of my internet bandwidth or lack thereof. I mean, it's not terrible, but I don't want to stress it too much. So Restream, for me, it's a paid-for service and it's a syndication service. So it's a multi-stream platform. Hey, Sammy, thank you for joining. We've got the Ecamm fam joining us now as well. We need to talk to Phil and Eileen about Twitter strategies as well, because Phil said, I'm going to try and get you to 1,000 subscribers, which would be great, Phil. But like you, I'll come back to Restream in a sec, but like you, I'm more of a consumption on Twitter, but I've actually recently started to clean up lists. I've actually set some lists on Twitter, so I don't have to follow those people. And Phil was saying, he follows I think he follows 2 people and has everybody else following him. And the people that he wants to follow and engage with are all in lists, which is great. So we will carve up all those people in lists. I don't know if Eileen does a similar strategy, but Eileen's also got a big following on Twitter. So with that, in that respect, it's easier for me to then follow the people that I want to follow and put it in different disciplines. So I've got one for brands, one for live streamers, like self photographers, whatever it might be, like three discrete lists. And then I can just keep tapping into those as and when I look at things on Twitter. But from a distribution model, I'm really trying to use Twitter to help drive more views, more eyeballs on what I produce on YouTube, because YouTube is my platform of choice for delivering content, and I'll use things like Twitter and possibly LinkedIn to help drive that back. So with Restream, you're able to multi-stream to up to, I think it's 10 or 15 destinations at the same time. I don't even know how many destinations there are out there to stream to, but things like LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook groups, I don't really do Facebook, so it doesn't really matter to me. So the main platforms will be YouTube, LinkedIn, and Twitter. And I used to, every week, just go live to those 3 platforms. And I've been trying a few different things on whether I can multi-stream from Ecamm. But for me now, you can see it's working really well. I get all the comments are coming in from, if I just go to live demo mode, all the comments are coming in via, so we've got Twitter, we've got YouTube, and prior to that, Eileen kindly hopped on to, where is it, down here on, she was on LinkedIn. So everything's coming through to Ecamm as a central place for all the comments, and then it's just being distributed in that way. So it's a really easy platform to use. Ecamm connects directly to Restream, so you have one feed. So I just set up my Restream feed as I did tonight, press go live, and I'm done. And that's it. So it might be worth trying, but I think with your bandwidth, you could go to Twitter and YouTube directly from Ecamm without any problem at all, and just create a scheduled post or a scheduled stream from there and just do that. Can't do any harm because you'll just get people coming in. And maybe interacting that way.
I think I was waiting to see the experience of, because if I do that, meaning syndicate to multiple platforms simultaneously, I always knew that Ecamm was really good at pulling in the comments from YouTube and Facebook, but I wasn't sure about how the experience with Twitter.
It's perfect. No, since the beta version, because I did some testing with Ken and Glenn to get Twitter comments to come in properly from Restream, it didn't work at the time, but no, natively, directly to Twitter, if you was to go from Ecamm, comments come in, no problem at all. And now with Restream, and of course with Instagram, if you're an Instagram user, then you can do that as well, and therefore that gets a bit more complicated. But then you have to do the vertical stream, which I've been testing, because Instagram doesn't like you posting in sort of, especially this format, it would just blow up, I think. But you know.
Yeah, that's for me the biggest hang up going to the Instagram side of things is, and in general, the everything from shorts to reels, anything that's a 9:16 aspect ratio, I haven't gone into at all.
Right.
Really, yeah, that's my own. That's a me problem. I know I should.
Right.
But I just couldn't bring myself to it yet.
Yeah, and I've done it a couple of times, but it's not. It's almost for an experience where you just, like this right now, this would be pretty reasonable for doing a live stream now to Instagram, because we could both be in the vertical format, you know, and it would pretty much work. And plus, if you go live now, in the vertical format to YouTube, you instantly get popped into the YouTube Shorts feed. If you go, so that may be a good or a bad thing, because I don't know about you and people who are still on the stream, if you've ever looked at live streams in the YouTube Shorts feed at certain periods throughout the day, it's a weird place. You've got gamers, tarot card readers. I saw one guy who was asleep, and people were still commenting. He'd fallen asleep in front of his computer, and people commenting saying, "Dude's still asleep. What's going?" He had like more views than I normally get, and the guy's asleep. So why should I bother putting all this effort into teaching people when I can just fall asleep and get loads of views?
Right, and get well rested.
Just catch up on the Zeds.
Yeah, that's
Absolutely. All right, Phil. Thanks for checking in. See, he's got to lock his alpacas up, and he does have alpacas. That's all I'm saying. You got to look after those alpacas. It's gone dark now where you are, obviously in the UK. So, yeah. We got to look at different types of streaming. So Eileen says she does some 9:16 streams, but honestly, they think they're overrated. Well, that's interesting, Eileen. Obviously, with your following and what you do in the social media space, it's quite subjective. I think there's a certain type of audience, the doom scrollers, that will go and have a look at live streams in the 9:16 format. And I've heard some people, Doc, for example, from Ecamm, he did a couple of YouTube-based short live streams, and he got a ton more followers coming in. So maybe it'll help with engagement. I don't know, but I think it's early doors yet, particularly for shorts. Shorts live streaming anyway, you know, just general posting on shorts is fine.
Well, that's what concerns me. There's a photographer he's a photo educator. He's kind of in my field. His name is Jevin Dovey, and he just recently broke 1 million subs on YouTube. Great guy, great content. If you go to one of his videos from, I would say 3 months ago, he started posting shorts to his YouTube channel, to his primary channel. Right. And it decimated his the performance of his VODs. Yeah, like his videos that he would upload, the performance started to tank when he started adding shorts. And that terrified me, because that was around the time when I thought, all right, let me experiment with this. What he ended up doing was creating an entirely separate channel. for his shorts.
Oh, okay. Right.
Yeah. So it's kind of, they don't commingle in the same channel, but also I guess it really depends. I do not have the personality to just do these kind of really quick vertical, like 60-second things. It's just not that's not me. Also, primarily the content I share is like photo education related. Like this kind of stuff I can do with you all day long, no problem.
Yeah.
But the you can relate to this, I'm sure. The process of having to conform what is naturally a 16:9 display, like Lightroom or Photoshop or everything is primarily HD or 4K in a horizontal aspect ratio.
Right.
To conform that to a 9:16 to make sure that like it's also legible, because all of a sudden everything is viewed on a small display. I don't have the patience.
No, and I don't think it doesn't lend itself to that as well. And you're right. And I think the vertical format is really for short, bursty, talking head type, almost like an infomercial for your main channel. Hey, I've just been doing such and such a thing. Come over to the main channel and see the results of my latest tutorial. Something like that. And that might get, because you might get more eyeballs on a vertical video, which would then drive the content to there. And what I tend to do is Eileen uses something similar, is I'll just use a tool like Opus Clip. And Opus Clip will just repurpose. It'll just take my long form content. And I threw our video that we did yesterday in there and just said, make me some 30 to 60 second clips just to see what it would come up with. And then there's a couple of sort of, I would treat them as sound bites, teasers, that if you put them on the shorts feed, then you have a link back to the main video and people could then say, okay, well, this looks interesting. He's talking about such and such a thing. Let me go and have a look at the main video. And that's all I would use it for. That's all I ever use the shorts feed for. I wouldn't treat them as a way of getting more, I guess, more subscribers or something. It's just another way of getting eyeballs onto the main channel, I think. Even though it is the channel, you know what I mean? It's like looking at it in the main sort of feed as opposed to on the short side. And some people are really good at making short form content that's entertaining. And I'm like, I'm not that person. I don't have the patience. And what I do and what you do is more sort of tutorials, and it's just not possible to do it in that format. So, correct.
And I will say though, I don't know if you had the opportunity to use. There's this Final Cut, because I know you use Final Cut. A Final Cut plugin called Captionator. Yeah, that to me, the one thing that I would like that I like that Opus does is it provides those captions, you know, the kind of frenetic, like as you're speaking, like 1 to 2 words.
Yeah.
So but what I don't like about Opus, and you kind of touched on this, is our content, the content we primarily produce, does not lend itself to a vertical aspect ratio. So if I go into Final Cut and I edit the video myself so that I kind of transform certain sections to be larger, the Captionator plugin actually does a really good job of simulating the one thing that I really like about Opus, and that is creating that caption, making the caption in. And it uses, I think it's Amazon's AI text caption service, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I think you're right. I've done a video on it a while ago and it sort of came out and it was really useful. It was in the days before Opus, but not to stop you in your tracks, but Opus version 3, which I did a video on a couple of weeks ago, has now allows you to throw in your long form 16:9 full frame video, and it will just add the captions and it won't do anything else. So it's designed now, you can just throw a video in there, it'll do all the captions for you and save it out as a new file with all the captions burnt in. So now you can take your normal widescreen formatted video, long form, I think it'll do up to 3 hours, and it will create the captions for you. So you could just use it as a captionator type device. Yes, you still have to pay for it because it's credits, but if you didn't want to go through the process of with Caption 80, there's still a little bit of work that you have to do. You could just take your video, even videos that are already on your YouTube channel that you might want to add captions to, and just throw that into Opus. If you want, you can send me a URL for a video that you might want to try, and I'll throw it into, because I've got some credits. I'll throw one in there for you and send it back to you.
That's awesome. I appreciate that. Will it also cut the videos up into into 16:9 short videos, even though they're not vertical, or is it just big?
You can if you want. So now you've got the option with version 3 to do a 1-to-1. So like the square formatted for Instagram. You've got the 9:16 vertical format. You've got the TikTok, which is a slightly different format, and then you've got the 16:9 standard YouTube. It's pretty good. So give it a go. I mean, if you send me a URL at some point, I'll throw one in there, take a look, and just and the thing is, you can edit the caption. So if it does a spelling mistake, if it doesn't get a term right, because obviously it's not 100% perfect, we're not at Terminator level yet, then you can adjust it and change the colors, the format, anything, and it's got lots of templates. And once you're happy with the template design, you can just save that off as your own template.
Right.
And away you go.
I know it applies emoji as well.
Yeah, and you can remove those if you want. I always find it it's quite funny, some of the emojis it adds to certain things. One of my customers is a psychologist, and he talks about difficult subjects on his podcast, and I've thrown a couple of videos in there for him, and it's a dark, serious topic, and it throws some crazy iPhone laughing emoji. It's like, okay, we need to remove that. It's not appropriate for the content.
Yeah,
so
it's all about context.
It Actually, is. I'm just gonna.
I have to jump soon, Neil.
No problems. I was only planning to be on here just to test this out, but it's fabulous that you're here. I'm just taking this view on the phone because it says there's 80 people who's watched the stream, so I just can't believe that. Who's dipped in and out.
Yeah, I see it on the top left there.
Nonsense. It's all nonsense. It's just lies, statistics and lies.
Rubbish.
But yeah, no, this is absolute rubbish. Well, this has been great. It proves that the syndication system works. Restream's working fine. The quality looks pretty good as well from my side. So
yeah, it looks great here.
I'm going to keep this profile.
It looks flawless here.
And all the comments seem to come in fine. If I do the chat and put somebody's comment in there, it now works. I've been playing around with that today, so now it comes in at the right place and everything. So I'm not going to touch it. I'm not going to move it. This profile is as is now for doing live streams, and ready for Tuesday when you come on. So I hope you get on all right with your studio. Are you going to be up and running, ready for Tuesday? Are you going to be?
You're giving me,
Brian.
Yeah, exactly. You're giving me a goal, which I like. So I'm going to try. It's either going to be a huge success or a huge failure.
You'd just be there with one camera and a microphone, holding your microphone,
That seems to be the thing that a lot of people do now. They're holding their little Rode wireless.
Yeah, but not just that. Have you seen people? People are holding the SM7B like this. I don't have that strength in my arm to hold that microphone for that long. Crazy people.
That's an entirely separate thing.
All right. Well, to those of you who are still on listening to this rambling, I do appreciate you being on the stream. I'm actually just going to check some statistics before I disappear. But thank you so much for joining, Brian, and have a wonderful weekend. And I'll obviously see you on Tuesday. So if you just want to pop in 15 minutes before, we'll just be ready to go and see how that is.
Let's do it.
All right.
I'll chat with you later. Cheers.
All right. Take care of yourself. See you soon. Thanks, Brian. Take care. So that was Brian joining us there, and thanks to everybody who's joined. I'm just going to look at some statistics whilst everybody's on, if there's anybody still there. Hey, Eileen, thank you so much for joining. I'm just going to stay on for a little bit longer, just looking at some statistics, but do appreciate you stopping by. And maybe you'd like to come on as a guest sometime onto the show and talk about Twitter strategies and your journey with your social media. I think that would be fun. So let me have a look at the Restream. Just looking at my Restream statistics. Let's have a look. Absolute bonkers and bizarre. Okay. So I didn't see anybody really on LinkedIn, but there was 76 impressions on Twitter. Fascinating. And quite a few on YouTube. So that's great. Anyway, thanks to everybody for stopping by. It's been a blast. I wish you a very nice weekend, and I will see you in the next live stream, which will be this Tuesday, 10:30 UK. See you then. Take it easy. Bye.